Harry Nielsen and everybody's talking at me. 21 minutes past the hour. We're off to the south east of England, to Kent now, to talk to Int Bell, who changed his name by deed poll. Something I've often thought about doing myself. And I actually have. But usually when I was a bit younger. Int Bell, welcome to the programme. How are you?
Hi, Richie. Hey, thanks for getting back to me.
Not at all. Now, you can switch off your camera if you want. It might help us avoid any problems. This isn't TV, obviously. I can see you now and I don't need to. Thank you very much. Sometimes Intbell, it uses up a bit of bandwidth and you end up getting a bit of static. Lovely to hear from you, my friend. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. I put the video on temporarily so you could see that
that you're a real man. I'm talking to a real person.
As per my photograph.
Brilliant. Nice to talk to you. Do you want to just tell us for the crack, where did Int Bell come from? Why did you change your name by deed poll?
Int Bell originally came from a company which totally failed. It was called Interesting Beliefs. So it's Int and from interesting and Bell from beliefs.
Oh, fantastic.
I used it as a nickname on the internet, on the various forums and everywhere else, for my websites and so on. And when I started going to conferences, people would say, "Hi, Int Bell," and so I thought, how I'll change my name to Int Bell, that's it. No title, no Mr. or anything.
Fantastic. But it's on the old passport now, and that's it. That's your name, and that's the end of it.
That's it, yeah.
Terrific. Now, what would you like? I think you gave me a kind of an inkling as what you wanted to bring up or what you wanted to mention. But go ahead anyway. The floor is yours for the next few minutes. Go ahead.
I'll be as brief as possible. The death penalty. It's supposed to be a deterrent. It isn't. It actually perpetuates what it seeks to prevent. I'll endeavour to explain why, because this is important. If people have an understanding of this, then they'd never support the death penalty ever again. Now, if you give someone a long prison sentence, say you put someone a life sentence, what happens? After a few years, they're thinking about it, and after about 20, 30, 40, 50 years, they perhaps come to the conclusion that what they were doing was not a good idea, and they really don't want to do it anymore. Okay? When you take someone who's executed, and I'm talking about premeditated, cold-blooded murder here, not the crime of passion. After all, we've all got our breaking point, You have someone who is still wants to do these things, and you're executing him, bang. So he, what they call, dies with this, having the same desires as he was when he was alive. Right, the guy in a long-term prison sentence, he will die, in quotes, a different person. Now, what happens when they leave here?
Brilliant.
If you are addicted to and attached to violence to the point of killing, you're unable to do this. But if you have the same desires, this goes with rapists and everything, all people, you'll seek to fulfill them. Well, you're no longer in a material environment, so you cannot do that. So you will seek to fulfill them through others. Now, if you take a young, you take a teenager, 18 or 19, and he decides to hold up a shop or a filling station, he takes along a gun. He doesn't want to use it. However, he takes along a gun because, hey, that will scare the cashier or the proprietor into giving him money. Now, if the cashier or the proprietor puts up a fight, then that young man is going to be scared. He's going to panic. He's going to be at a very weak point. And it is that point where the person who has been executed, who is still very much alive and well, truth be told, is an in for him, not to people are thinking possession, not to possess, but to exercise some influence over that guy, so he will kill. And then they can feed off that. They can experience that through that individual.
So what you're saying, Intbell, and I find this really interesting now. I'm very much anti-capital punishment, and I used to be a very kind of, stringent, ardent even campaigner against it. What you're saying is that we believe that we are infinite consciousness and energy can't be created nor destroyed. And if people are sent out of this physical world in that state of being a murderer, being a rapist or whatever, that energy will continue to exert an influence on the physical world and quite possibly on people whom are in bad situations. Is that what I'm getting from you?
Yeah, that's
it's really interesting that, yeah.
One point there, I disagree with David on this, on infinite consciousness. Infinite conscious life. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Infinite conscious life, not just consciousness, because the consciousness, you have to have something to be. And I hope you're listening, David, because it's something I wanted to write to him about. Life, love, spirit. They're three words for the same thing. Love is the most powerful creative energy force there is. Christians have it near enough right when they say God is love. I say no. God is the name you give to love because you need to personify this force. Now, if love is the greatest creative energy force that ever can be, then because it's creative, it implies mind, it implies intelligence, it implies life. Someone said love is all there is.
Yeah.
Even David completed one of his things by saying love is all there is, and it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So you have life, love, and spirit. It's three names for the same thing, and it's infinite. And because it's infinite, both in terms of time and space.
Your ideas are shared by Shakespeare, interestingly enough. I don't have. They are. I don't have many. I don't have many. I'm going to explain. I'm going to qualify my remarks now, Intbell. I don't have many areas of expertise. Maybe I don't have any at all. But my academic qualification is in English and history. And when in Hamlet, when he comes across his uncle, who is now with his mother, his uncle who was murdered, his father, and took the throne. Hamlet is prepared to exact his revenge there and then. But it occurs to him that he shouldn't do because the king is in a state of grace and he's praying to the gods. And it occurs to Hamlet that his energy or his spirit is in a pretty good place and that wouldn't be the time to kill him. And that's an interesting aspect of Hamlet. It's often argued over. Is Hamlet at that stage totally insane, or is he reasoning, or is he rational? But he does consider the possibility that when he kills the king, the exact moment will determine what sort of afterlife the king will have. That's very interesting, that, because it goes some way to what you're saying there, Intbell.
Yeah. Another point on love, though, life, spirit, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. Because it's infinite, then what's the object of life is to express itself.
Express itself and reproduce, yeah.
It would express itself in an infinite number of ways and an infinite number of forms. Life is expressed as a tree. It's the same life, only expressed in a different way, and it needs a different form. You and I, we're human expressions of life. And we have a human form. When we leave here, we'll still be just as human as we are today. Only because we will not be in a material environment, which necessitates a material form, we will be in a non-material environment, which necessitates a non-material form. And it goes on and on and on. Progress is infinite.
Which I agree with that, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, but to get back to the death penalty, people need to understand that we have attachments to material things. And and they're hard to let go of. And when you're not in a material environment and you've still got a strong attachment to things of a material nature, there is the tendency to want to experience it through others. So, and if you have attached, almost addicted, if you like, to shocking rapes and murders and torture, if that's what turns you on and you're executed at that point, you will seek to experience it through others and will influence people who are in a traumatic situation, so they just enough to tip them over the edge, so that they do what you want them to do, and then you can experience that through them.
Bill, that's really interesting. I want to get people's opinion on that. Do let us know either on Twitter or do call the programme, Skype it on the Richie Allen Show. I have sympathy with Intbell's opinion there, I really do. Intbell, it was good to have you on the programme, mate. Thanks for coming on to talk to us from Kent or near Kent. I'm sure we'll catch up with you again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to chat with you and have a good weekend. Intbell there. I mean, it's a very interesting reason and a very logical reason to be against capital punishment. A Rose song to end the programme with. There you are. Have a good weekend. See you Monday if I don't see you tomorrow. Bye now.